Wizard of Oz, there is a dark and twisted legend that has haunted the film for decades. It's a tale of a shadowed figure seen briefly in the background that has sent chills down the spines of those who claim to have seen it. This is the story of the Hanging Munchkin, a haunting image that some believe shows an actor who tragically took his own life during the filming of the movie. The scene in question occurs as Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion make their way through the yellow brick road, and in the background, just for a fleeting moment, a shadowy figure appears hanging from a rope in the distance. The figure appears to be a small, humanoid shape, one of the Munchkins, but instead of standing or moving, it sways ominously as though suspended in mid-air. The unsettling image has long been thought to show a Munchkin actor who, in a moment of despair, ended his life while filming. Rumours spread quickly after the film's release. Some claimed it was a tragic accident. Others swore that the figure was the result of a hidden, dark history surrounding the Munchkin actors. Over the years, the Hanging Munchkin became an urban legend, whispered about by fans of the film, who believed that the ghost of the actor still lingered, forever trapped in the frames of the movie. However, Snopes.com debunked the legend, tracing the figure to a much more mundane origin. Instead of a suicide, the mysterious shape was likely one of several large birds that had been allowed to roam the set. The bird's wings, spread wide in the background, created the illusion of a hanging figure, a trick of the light and angle that fueled the myth. Despite the truth, the legend persists. Some still claim that when watching the film late at night, they catch a glimpse of the Hanging Munchkin, the shadow of a tragedy that never truly happened, but has haunted the film's legacy all the same. Deep in the shadowy swamps of Fuke, Arkansas, a creature is said to roam, a nightmarish figure known as the Fuke Monster, also called the Boggy Creek Monster or Swamp Stalker. This beast has haunted the imagination of locals for decades, a being cloaked in mystery, terror, and shadow. The first chilling sightings began in the early 1970s. Witnesses described a hulking, ape-like creature standing over 7 feet tall, its body covered in dark matted hair. Its eyes glowed with an unholy red light, piercing through the dense fog that clings to the swamps. The creature was said to emit a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down the spine, a sound that seemed to echo deep into the forest, warning all who dared approach. The Fuke Monster didn't just lurk in the shadows. It was rumoured to stalk homes and farms on the edges of the swamp. In one particularly terrifying account, a family claimed the beast attacked their rural home, smashing through windows and clawing at doors in a frenzy. When they fired shots at it, the creature let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the woods, leaving behind massive 3-toed footprints and a lingering sense of dread. Locals began to avoid the swamp at night, whispering that the creature was not merely an animal, but something darker, perhaps a spirit of the land, an ancient guardian awakened by trespassers. The area became steeped in fear, and many who ventured ventured too close reported strange sounds, eerie movements in the underbrush, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Even today, the legend of the Fook monster persists. Some say it still stalks the Boggy Creek area, its red eyes glowing in the dark, waiting for the unwary to stumble into its domain. Others claim to have heard its haunting growl in the dead of night, a reminder that some creatures are meant to remain unseen, lurking in the shadows of the swamp, forever untamed. In the shadowy annals of New England's history, amidst tales of spectral figures and cursed lands, the story of Eunice Cole, or Goody Cole, stands out with a chilling resonance. In the small town of Brentwood, New Hampshire, her name became synonymous with witchcraft and woe, her life a testament to the dark superstitions that once gripped the heart of the 17th century. Goody Cole was an enigmatic figure, her life shrouded in misfortune and mystery. First accused of witchcraft in 1656, she became the scapegoat for every disaster that befell the town, from unexplained deaths to failing crops and dying livestock. Her neighbours' fear and suspicion branded her an outcast, a woman touched by the devil himself. The townsfolk whispered that she could be seen muttering to herself in the woods, concocting strange brews and communing with unseen forces. Children dared each other to peek through her dimly lit windows, only to flee in terror at the sight of her shadowy form bending over a flickering flame. It was said that she cast curses with a glance and summoned storms with a wave of her gnarled hands. Her repute as a witch grew so dire that in 1673 she was accused once more. This time, the evidence was more damning, the fear more palpable. They dragged her before the court, her eyes blazing with defiance as the charges were read. Found guilty, she was sentenced to imprisonment, her final years spent in the cold, dark confines of a cell, where she was left to languish, forgotten by all but those who feared her curse. But death did not bring Goody Cole peace. The town, eager to rid itself of her malignant influence once and for all, buried her in an unmarked grave at the edge of the cemetery. They drove a stake through the heart of her plot, a grim ritual to prevent her tormented spirit from rising and haunting them. Yet, this act only solidified her legend, and it was said that her spirit lingered, malevolent and vengeful. To this day, eerie occurrences in Brentwood are often whispered to be the workings of Goody Cole's restless ghost. On stormy nights, some claim to see her figure in the flashes of lightning, wandering the woods or standing by her unmarked grave, still bound by the town's collective dread. Her legend has become a chilling reminder of the power of fear and the lasting stain of injustice, her story echoing through the centuries as a spectral tale of a woman wronged, her vengeance immortalised in the whispered fears of those who remember. Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of North America. Its name is derived arrive from Cadborough Bay, a coastal area in Greater Victoria, British Columbia, where it has reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature adds to the mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet no definitive physical evidence has ever been produced to confirm its existence. The creature is usually reported to move with great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that Caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be Caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations, a tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Terrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiraled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Terrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Tyrrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. In the chilling depths of Staten Island's folklore, a sinister figure known as Cropsey stalks the nightmares of those who dare to whisper his name. Originally conceived as a boogeyman to scare children into obedience, Cropsey evolved into a far more horrifying reality, merging with the true crimes of a man named Andre Rand, whose deeds during the 1970s and 1980s turned him into a living embodiment of the legend. The tale of Cropsey began as a ghost story, one that parents recounted during hushed evenings, a spectral figure lurking in the shadows of the woods, preying on wayward children who strayed too far from home. Descriptions varied, but all agreed on his ghastly demeanour, a disfigured face, haunting eyes, and a hook for a hand, dragging behind him the echoes of chains he rattled, a warning in the wind. As the urban legend grew, so did Cropsey's malevolence. He was said to reside in the ruins of the abandoned Willowbrook State School, a place already steeped in dark history due to its controversial past, as a residence for children with disabilities, subjected to horrendous conditions. Here, Cropsey found his sinister refuge, emerging under the cloak of night to chase the echoes of laughter with a hunter's glee. But the line between myth and reality blurred horrifically when children in Staten Island began to disappear in the 1970s and 80s. Panic gripped the community as the legend of Cropsey seemed to come alive. And then came Andre Rand, a former employee of the Willowbrook State School. When he was arrested in connection with the disappearances, the people of Staten Island were aghast to find that their boogeyman had taken human form. Rand was convicted of kidnapping, and the community was forced to confront the terrifying possibility that Cropsey was not just a tale to frighten children, but a real predator walking Each trial brought more attention to the legend, each disappearance a grim chapter added to the lore. Today, the story of Cropsey remains a macabre token of Staten Island's history. The dilapidated structures of Willowbrook still stand, overgrown and forsaken, yet pulsing with the dark heartbeat of past atrocities. Those who venture near claim to feel a chilling presence, hear the faint rattle of chains, or see a shadow dart between the trees. Cropsey has transcended his origins as a mere boogeyman to become a symbol of real-life horrors, a cautionary tale that warns of the monsters that may dwell not just in our stories, but in the very heart of our communities. Hidden within the eerie expanse of Maple Hill Park in Huntsville, Alabama, lies a playground that few dare to visit after dark. Known as the Dead Children's Playground, it sits in the shadow of Maple Hill Cemetery, where countless lives were lost during the brutal Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Many of these were children, tiny lives cut short by the merciless wave of illness that swept through the town. Their graves, small and silent, line the edges of the cemetery, just steps away from the playground, where swings now creak and echo through the night. As dusk falls, a haunting atmosphere descends upon the playground. Locals warn that the children who perished here never truly left. Strange occurrences have been reported for years. Swings move on their own, the rusted chains rattling as if gripped by invisible hands. In the sand beneath the slide, visitors find tiny footprints that appear suddenly and disappear just as mysteriously. Some who pass by in the evening hours have claimed to hear faint giggles or the distant sound of children calling out, voices carried on an unsettling breeze that seems to chill the very air around it. Witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures darting between the playground equipment, flickering in and out of sight like fading memories. A few brave souls have even claimed to catch glimpses of ghostly children, their pale forms just visible in the moonlight, with hollow, haunting eyes fixed on the swings. Others report feeling an icy touch on their shoulders or a tug at their clothing, as if tiny hands were reaching out, desperate to play just once more. Despite the renovations and new equipment, the playground remains a place haunted by sorrow and loss, as if the spirits of the past refuse to let go. It's said that the restless souls of these children are bound to this place, forever drawn to the playground. They never had the chance to truly enjoy in life. Visitors leave trinkets, small toys and flowers by the swings, hoping to soothe the spirits that linger. For those who know the tale, the Dead Children's Playground is not merely a place for children's laughter, but a portal to something darker. A reminder that some places are scarred by history, with memories and spirits that will not fade, even as time moves on. Deep within Utah's Escalante petrified forest, legends warn of a curse that brings misfortune upon those who dare to disturb its ancient relics. For countless years, this eerie forest has stood still, haunted by trees turned to stone, their wood transformed into glistening shards over millennia. Tourists marvel at the colours and textures, but there's a rule among locals: never take a piece of the forest home. The curse, they say, is vengeful and patient. Stories tell of visitors who couldn't resist pocketing a fragment of petrified wood, believing they'd taken only a small, harmless memento. But the forest doesn't forgive theft. Those who take from Escalante soon find themselves ensnared in a web of relentless misfortune. One man, who once laughed off the legend, lost his job within a week. His family fell into financial ruin, consumed by regret, unable to escape the shadow of his actions. Others have faced accidents so sudden and strange they could only be explained by the curse. A woman who took a single stone reported a horrifying series of events. Her car veered off the road on her way home, narrowly escaping a fatal crash. Her health began to fail inexplicably, her body growing weaker as if drained by an unseen force. Her nights became plagued with nightmares of twisted, ghostly trees, watching her with hollow, accusing eyes. Desperate to break the curse, people mail pieces of petrified wood back to the park, hoping for mercy. Rangers at Escalante receive hundreds of packages each year, filled with stones and pleas for forgiveness. Letters pour in, recounting stories of illness, financial collapse, and near-death experiences. The packages lie unopened, scattered as grim reminders that the forest does not forget. So, the legend endures, a chilling warning to those who visit. Leave the forest as you found it, or face its wrath. The petrified trees of Escalante may seem still and silent, but they guard their secrets jealously. Those who steal from them awaken a curse, one that clings to their lives, unrelenting until the debt is paid, or until they are no more. Relax, settle in, and drift off as we unravel the eerie legend of the Catman of Greenock, a mysterious figure lurking in the darkened streets of Scotland, where shadows hide untold secrets. In the darkened streets of Greenock, Scotland, a sinister legend lurks in the shadows, a tale whispered since the 1970s. The Catman of Greenock, a creature both feared and pitied, has haunted the alleyways, becoming a story that locals tell in hushed voices to keep their children close at night. The Catman was said to be human once. No one really knows his name, nor what series of cruel misfortunes led him to crawl through the gutters, scavenging to survive. They say he emerged from the forgotten corners of society, driven by desperation, until his body took on a twisted, primal state. His skin is pallid, coated with grime and dirt, his eyes sunken, but glinting with an animalistic gleam. The Catman scuttles along the alleys and underpasses, always staying close to the ground, moving with an unsettling feline grace. It is said that he survives on rats, devouring them with his bare hands. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen him in the dead of night, his filthy fingers closing around a writhing rodent, sinking his teeth into the squirming creature, the crunch of bone and squeal of his prey echoing faintly against the bricks. The very sight of it sends shivers down the spine, a glimpse of a forgotten human reduced to something almost feral. Yet, it's not just the rats that keep the Catman company. Rumours tell of a colony of wild cats that live alongside him, creatures drawn to him by some inexplicable bond. They say he cares for them, shares his meals with them, and they, in turn, protect him. A grim pact between the lost and the forsaken. Locals swear they've seen him surrounded by these creatures, his bony hands stroking their mangy fur as if they were his only family. To some, he's become a twisted guardian of the alleyways, a protector of the stray and forgotten. People say if you wander the outskirts of Greenock at night, you might just catch a glimpse of him, eyes glowing like those of the wild cats staring from the shadows. The bravest claim to have seen his crooked silhouette crawling across the ground, always close to his feline companions. Some who have dared to approach say they've heard him hiss, a low, guttural warning, more animal than man. No one knows where the Catman sleeps, or if he ever does. He vanishes with the sunrise, retreating to some dark hole beneath the streets, leaving only unease in his wake. To see the Catman of Greenock is to witness a living nightmare, a reminder of how close we all are to the edge of something monstrous, something forgotten, something no longer entirely human. Let's dive into the mysterious tale of the Blue Star Tattoo Legend, a chilling urban myth that once spread fear among parents. Relax, unwind, and drift off as we explore this eerie story. The Blue Star Tattoo Legend is a well-known urban myth that emerged in the 1980s, sparking fear and concern among parents and schools. According to this legend, drug dealers were supposedly targeting young children by distributing LSD-laced temporary tattoos disguised as innocent stickers or lick-and-stick tattoos. These tattoos, often said to feature blue stars, butterflies, or other fun designs, were believed to be soaked in LSD, a potent hallucinogenic drug. The legend typically portrayed a scenario where unsuspecting children would receive these tattoos from strangers or through the mail. Once the tattoo was applied to the skin, the drug would allegedly seep through the pores, causing hallucinations and potentially dangerous effects. The myth gained significant traction through warning flyers distributed by schools, community organisations, and even police departments, urging parents to be vigilant about what their children brought home. One common version of the story described the tattoos being handed out at playgrounds or schools by individuals looking to get children addicted to drugs at an early age. The tattoos were described as brightly coloured and appealing to kids, further feeding into the panic. Some variations of the legend claimed that these drug-laced tattoos were being sold in candy wrappers or other common items that children might encounter. Despite the widespread panic that the Blue Star Tattoo legend caused, there was never any verifiable evidence to support the claims. No confirmed cases of children being harmed by LSD-laced tattoos were ever reported. However, the fear it instilled in communities was very real, leading to increased warnings and stricter scrutiny of items given to children by strangers. Experts have since debunked the legend, explaining that LSD is unlikely to be absorbed through the skin in the way the myth suggested. Additionally, the idea of drug dealers giving away expensive drugs like LSD to children for free was deemed highly improbable. The legend, like many urban myths, played on the fears of parents during a time when drug use and awareness were on the rise, particularly in schools. In retrospect, the Blue Star Tattoo legend is an example of how misinformation and fear can spread rapidly. We dive into the eerie legend of the Chonchon, a mythical creature that haunts the night skies. Let its chilling tale lull you into a peaceful sleep, if you dare. Deep in the shadowy forests of Chile and southern Argentina, an ancient terror lurks in the night, whispered in hushed tones among villagers. The Chonchon is no ordinary creature. Its very existence defies nature, sending shivers down the spines of those who dare speak its name. Legend has it that the Chonchon is not a bird, but a cursed being, a sorcerer who has performed a dark ritual to transform into this horrifying creature. In the dead of night, the sorcerer's head detaches from its body, sprouting enormous wings from the ears. Jean soars through the night skies in search of prey, gliding silently above the rooftops of unsuspecting villages. Those unfortunate enough to cross its path rarely live to tell the tale. It is said that the Jean can slip into homes undetected, like a whisper on the wind, draining the life force of its victims, leaving them pale and hollow by dawn. Those who survive its attack are left forever haunted, their minds shattered by the encounter. Many have tried to catch a glimpse of the Jean, but only a few ever return from their hunts, and those who do are never the same again. Their descriptions are fragmented, as though the horror of what they witnessed burned itself into their minds. The Jean's eyes, they say, are glowing red orbs, filled with a malevolent intelligence far older than time. Its wings beat with unnatural silence, a deadly predator slipping through the night like a phantom. It is said that only the most skilled of shamans can undo the curse of the Jean, but these rituals are dangerous, and failure means the sorcerer's twisted form will be free to wreak havoc for eternity. To this day, villagers lock their doors and windows tight when they hear the faintest whisper of the Jean's cry. The wind, though invisible, might carry death with it, for the Jean does not rest. It hungers, always searching for its next victim, always lurking in the darkness, just out of sight. So, beware the stillness of the night, for you may never know if the next faint flap of wings you hear belongs to the Jean until it's too late. In the dead of night, there's a number whispered among those brave, or foolish, enough to try. 999-9999. According to the legend, if you dial this number after midnight, an eerie voice on the other end will answer, ready to grant your deepest, darkest wish. But there's a catch. Whatever you ask for will come true, but your life will be the price. The legend has it that the voice on the other end is patient, almost amused, as if it's heard countless desperate pleas before. You might hear soft breathing or the faint sound of something shifting, waiting for you to speak your desire. Ask for fame, fortune, or revenge, and it's granted, swift and precise. But the moment your wish is fulfilled, your fate is sealed. Witnesses claim that people who dared to make the call found themselves in strange, terrifying accidents shortly after, as if some unseen force had come to collect their due. Stories tell of a girl who dialed the number to become the most popular student in school. She achieved her wish, but within days she was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Her phone lying beside her, with 9999999 still on the screen. Another tale recounts a young man who asked for unimaginable wealth, only to be discovered lifeless in his luxury apartment just days later, the phone's last call pointing to that same cursed number. In 2002, the legend inspired a horror film, 9999999, where the cursed number brings terror to those who dare to test its power. Even today, some thrill seekers and skeptics dial 9999999 after midnight, hoping to prove the legend false. But as the silence stretches on and the dial tone fades, some swear they hear a faint voice, asking softly, "What is your wish?" We dive into the unsettling tale of the colander lie detector, a strange and 1960s speaks of a chilling interrogation method used by police or army investigators. It began with a crude yet unsettling setup. A colander, typically used for straining pasta, repurposed into a nightmarish piece of equipment. The investigators would place this everyday kitchen item onto the head of a suspect, but its sinister transformation didn't end there. Wires connected the colander to a photocopier, creating the illusion of advanced technology. In a dimly lit interrogation room, the suspect would sit nervously as the investigators loomed over them, watching intently. The tension was palpable, the walls closing in as the suspect was bombarded with questions. The investigators' eyes would dart back and forth between the suspect and the machine, waiting for the first crack in their story. Each time the suspect answered, the photocopier would whir to life, spitting out a fresh sheet of paper. The sound of its mechanical churning filled the room, amplifying the sense of dread. If the answer was deemed acceptable, the machine remained silent, offering a brief respite. But if the investigators found the response suspicious or dishonest, the copier would hiss and clunk, printing a single sheet with a damning message. "He's lying." The effect was immediate. Suspects, already frazzled and scared, would crumble under the pressure of the so-called lie detector, convinced that the colander was exposing their every falsehood. They couldn't know that it was all a cruel trick. The investigators manipulated the machine, not through science or technology, but through psychological warfare. The power of suggestion turned the colander and photocopier into terrifying tools, blurring the line between reality and fiction. Some say the interrogators used this method for years, laughing behind closed doors at how easily their victims were broken by the sight of a kitchen utensil on their head. But as with any legend, the line between truth and myth is thin. Stories began to circulate of suspects who couldn't handle the pressure, of minds unravelling as they became trapped in a game where the stakes felt life or death. Whispers of the colander lie detector persist, and while it's easy to dismiss it as a bizarre tale from the past, one can't help but wonder if, somewhere in a dark corner of the world, the machine is still being used, waiting to catch its next victim in its web of fear and deception. Welcome to our soothing journey into the mysterious world of urban legends. Tonight, we'll explore the haunting tale of the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, a story that whispers through the ages. The Brown Lady of Raynham Hall is one of the most famous ghost stories in England, originating from the picturesque Raynham Hall in Norfolk. This legend captures the imagination of those fascinated by the supernatural and the unexplained. Raynham Hall, built in the early 18th century, was the ancestral home of the Townshend family. It is a grand estate characterised by its stunning architecture and beautiful grounds, but it also harbours a chilling tale of loss and lingering spirits. The story of the Brown Lady is closely linked to Lady Dorothy Walpole, the sister of the first Prime Minister, Sir Robert Walpole, haunting the halls of the estate. The haunting began to capture public attention in the early 20th century when two photographers, including Captain Hubert Provat, visited Raynham Hall in 1936. They were there to capture images of the historic building when they encountered an unexpected sight. As they set up their equipment, a figure appeared before them. A woman in a flowing brown gown, seemingly floating down the staircase. Provat and his colleague quickly snapped a photograph, which would later become one of the most famous ghost images in history. The photograph, known as the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, shows a spectral figure descending the staircase, shrouded in a mysterious aura. This image sparked widespread fascination and debate, drawing the attention of both skeptics and believers in the paranormal. Many claimed it was a genuine ghostly apparition, while others argued it could be a double exposure or a trick of light. Regardless of the theories surrounding the photograph, it has become an enduring symbol of the paranormal and a centerpiece of ghost lore. The legend of the Brown Lady has continued to evolve over the years, with numerous accounts of sightings and experiences recounted by visitors to Raynham Hall. Some have reported feelings of unease, strange noises, and even glimpses of the ghostly figure in her iconic brown gown. These tales have cemented the Brown Lady's status as one of England's most notorious spirits. Today, Raynham Hall stands as a historic estate that welcomes visitors curious about its intriguing past. Ghost tours and paranormal investigations often highlight the story of the Brown Lady, allowing guests to delve into the haunting narrative that lingers in the air. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to waste away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living? This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires. Though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. In the shadowed realms of rural lore, where the line between jest and truth blurs, the legend of cow tipping haunts the fields and farmyards. Said to be a moonlit escapade for thrill-seeking youths, this bizarre activity involves the stealthy approach towards an unsuspecting cow, fast asleep standing upright in the darkness, and the sudden, forceful shove to topple the massive beast over for mere sport. But beyond the surface of this seemingly harmless prank lies a more chilling narrative, whispered among those who know the countryside's true face after dark. As the legend goes, in a secluded farming community, enveloped by the embrace of ancient woods and forgotten roads, cow tipping became more than just a reckless pastime. It morphed into a ritual of fear. The teens of this town, driven by boredom and the intoxicating rush of defiance, would venture out into the fields under the guise of night, their laughter slicing through the silence like a cold wind. But there was one night that turned their mischievous jaunt into a nightmare. As the group approached a familiar pasture, the moon hung low and ominous, bathing everything in a ghostly silver hue. The cows stood like monolithic statues in the mist, their breath forming clouds in the crisp air. Emboldened by the eerie night, the teens singled out a large, shadowy figure at the edge of the field. With a mix of exhilaration and alcohol-fueled bravado, they crept up to the sleeping cow. However, as they laid their hands on the creature, ready to push, the cow did not budge. Instead, it slowly turned its head, revealing not the docile eyes of a farm animal, but the glowing red orbs of a creature from deeper shadows. The teens froze, their hearts pounding as the cow, or the thing that masqueraded as one, rose unnaturally on its hind legs, towering over them with a menacing presence. Panic erupted as the creature chased them through the fields, its form blurring between beast and spectre, its bellows a grotesque parody of bovine grunts mixed with something far older and angrier. The youths scattered, screaming into the night, forever marked by the terror of what they had provoked. Those who returned spoke little of the incident, their eyes haunted by the memory. The story spread, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires and during late-night gatherings. Cow tipping was no longer seen as a harmless challenge, but as a dare with potentially dire consequences. To this day, the fields at the edge of that town remain untouched at night, the cows left to their peaceful slumber. For the locals know that some rural myths are better left untested, and that disturbing the natural order can awaken things best left asleep in the darkness. In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone, like an ominous scar, is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Puck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Puck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared. A single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it. Attempts to scrub it away only seemed to deepen the impression, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Puck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Puck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Puck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. Tonight's story takes us to the mysterious legend of the Bunny Man, a figure lurking in the shadows with an axe in hand. Close your eyes, relax, and let this eerie tale drift you to sleep. The Bunny Man is an eerie urban legend that took root in Fairfax County, Virginia in 1970 and has since spread across the Washington, D.C. area. The story has been retold in many forms, but the core of the legend centres around a mysterious figure dressed in a rabbit costume, referred to as the Bunny Man, who reportedly terrorises people with an axe. The legend is said to have originated from two strange incidents. The first took place in October 1970, when a young couple parked their car near a secluded area to talk. Suddenly, a man in a bunny suit appeared out of nowhere, wielding an axe. He angrily yelled at them about trespassing on his property before smashing the car window with the axe. Fortunately, the couple was able to drive away unharmed, but the encounter left them shaken. The second incident occurred just 10 days later. A security guard noticed a man dressed in a similar rabbit costume standing on the porch of a newly built home. The Bunny Man allegedly began hacking away at the structure with an axe, yelling that the house was built on his land. By the time authorities arrived, the Bunny Man had vanished, leaving behind a scene of destruction and confusion. From these two reports, the legend of the Bunny Man grew, and with it, many variations began to emerge. Some versions of the tale claim that the Bunny Man is the ghost of an escaped mental patient who had a psychotic break and now haunts the area, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. Others suggest that the Bunny Man is still alive, lurking in the woods of Virginia, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. The most notorious version of the legend involves the Bunny Man Bridge, a secluded railway overpass near Clifton, Virginia. According to some, this bridge is where the Bunny Man is most likely to appear, especially on Halloween night. Witnesses have claimed to hear strange noises or even see the shadowy figure of the Bunny Man wielding his infamous axe. While there is no solid evidence to prove the existence of the Bunny Man, the legend has persisted for decades, fueling local folklore and unsettling the imaginations of those who dare to explore the areas where the Bunny Man is said to